March Madness selections, I'm going to break it down for you game by game and give you everything I know about all of these teams, so hopefully you can do a pretty good job on your brackets as well. With me, as always, is former U of H basketball coach Guy B. Lewis. Coach, say hi. Okay, Coach doesn't have a whole lot to say today. Coach, do you think U of H is going to do well this year? If you don't think so, don't say anything. Okay, let's move on to the tournament. We take a look at the bracket here, and we'll go ahead and start. We're going to skip the playing games because, honestly, the playing games don't make a whole lot of sense to me. The field didn't need to be expanded to begin with, and I just don't. None of these teams that made the play-in games are likely to go on long tournament runs. So we're just going to kind of skip play-in analysis if it's all the same to you. Ohio State, number one seed over here in the what they're calling the Southwest region. Used to be the Midwest region, but for some reason they're going with South this year. They will take on either the UT San Antonio Roadrunners or Alabama State. I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe, just maybe, Ohio State can go ahead and win that one. Let's go ahead and put them in your bracket. George Mason against Villanova. Villanova lost 6 of their last 8 games and did not look all that good in the Big East tournament either. I can't say that I've watched George Mason once this year, but Villanova is playing so poorly, I went ahead in my bracket and penciled in George Mason. 5th-seeded West Virginia taking on UAB/Clemson play-in winner. UAB doesn't belong in the tournament. Clemson hasn't beat anyone of note this year. Go ahead and pencil the Mountaineers in for that one. Number 4, Kentucky taking on Princeton. Pete Carril, not the coach at Princeton anymore. This is not one of John Calipari's best Kentucky teams, but he does have a few future pros. I know the Tigers are 25-6, but I think Kentucky's got a little bit too much athleticism for them. 6th-seeded Xavier taking on Marquette. Marquette, one of 11 Big East teams to make the tournament. They do not rebound the basketball very well, which could be a problem against a pretty scrappy Xavier team that got to the Sweet 16 last year. Still have Tu Holloway, heck of a shooting guard, do the Musketeers. I think it's an ugly, ugly, low-scoring game, but I am going to favor Xavier to get by in that one. This might be the lock of the century. Not only is Syracuse going to beat Indiana State, they're going to pound them mercifully, lay the points big time with the Orange. I think they're going to go on a long tournament run, certainly can take care of business against Indiana State. Washington and Georgia. Don't think the Bulldogs belonged in the tournament to begin with. Washington's got a lot of experience in the backcourt with Isaiah Thomas and also the little scat back there, Vanoy Hamilton, I think his name is. He can do a pretty good job on the defensive end of things. Brian Amonning down low, pretty good low post player. Georgia's got a pretty good big guy in Trey Tompkins, but I think Washington's going to have way too much for him in that one. North Carolina taking on Long Island U. I'm not a big fan of the Tar Heels. I think they'll be able to get past LIU. Not expecting much more from them out of that. So there's your first round matchups. No major upsets there. In terms of my overall feelings on this particular region, I think Ohio State got a very easy draw. I think Ohio State, Kentucky, Syracuse, and Washington will be in the Sweet 16. Syracuse and Ohio State will get to the Elite Eight, and I think the Buckeyes will end up back here in Houston to play for the NCAA championship. That's a look at the Southwest region. We'll take a look at the West region next. Taking a look at the West region for March Madness, and we find the Duke Blue Devils with the number 1 seed, defending champions, 30-4, won the ACC Conference Tournament in rather dominant fashion, blew out North Carolina in the final. They will take on the Hampton Pirates in the first round. Hampton, you may remember, one of 3 teams in NCAA tournament history to win as a 15th seed, knocked off Iowa State about a decade ago. Don't think that's going to happen this year. Duke could have a difficult second round match, though. I think Tennessee, despite their 19-14 record, I think they find a way to get past the Michigan Wolverines in the first round. Not real big on either of those teams, but Tennessee does have the ability to beat very good teams. They won at Pittsburgh this year, gave Purdue a pretty decent game. They've got some wins in the SEC as well. Just had a whole mess of distractions because of their coach, who's going to be put on probation at the end of the year. But I think Tennessee gets past Michigan. Arizona and Memphis, I'll be pulling from our buddy Josh Pastner, who's the head coach of the Memphis Tigers. They led all of 7 seconds in their first round game, or in their Conference USA Championship game against UTEP, but they picked the right 7 seconds to lead at the end. Josh will be leading the Tigers against his alma mater, Arizona, where not only did he win a national championship back in 1997, but he also was an assistant coach there under Lute Olson. I think Arizona has a little too much for the Tigers. Derek Williams, definitely, if you're a Rockets fan, that's a player to keep an eye on. That guy's probably going to be a lottery pick. I thought the Longhorns got hosed. Texas sitting at a 4 seed, taking on Oakland, the Grizzly Bears, Black Bears, or some type of a bear. Texas probably should have been a 3, possibly a 2 seed. I don't think this is the worst draw in the world for the Longhorns. This is a tough matchup, though, in the first round. Oakland's got a big time. They got a big time center, Keith Benson, 6'11", likely going to be playing at the NBA level next year. They score a ton of points, but they give up a lot of points as well. I think Texas wins a pretty high-scoring contest. Wouldn't necessarily lay the point spread, which is going to be double digits. I think Texas gets by, and I think they have a pretty easy go of things in the second round against either Arizona or Memphis. Missouri is the 11th seeded team. They're actually favored against the Cincinnati Bearcats. I just don't think people think Cincinnati can score. They don't have very good guard play. They don't shoot very well from the outside. They play out a lot of defense, and they rebound. So the key is going to be, does Missouri make enough shots to set up their pressure? If they set up their ball pressure, I think Cincinnati's going to have a tough time keeping up with them. I'll call for the Tigers to get the win. Number 3, Connecticut. Not very many teams playing as well as Connecticut right now. 5 wins in 5 days in the Big East tournament. Bucknell's not going to slow them down. Not enough athletes to keep up with Kemba Walker and crew. I think Connecticut blows out Bucknell. Temple and Penn State. Really, Penn State, it doesn't really belong in this tournament. They're 19-14. They did win ugly in the Big Ten tournament some, but I think Temple is going to smoke them. I really do. This is one of my locks of the first round is Temple. I think they're laying about 2 points. I expect them to hold the Nittany Lions in check defensively and score plenty on their own. Look for Temple to advance. San Diego State against Northern Colorado. Watch Northern Colorado in their Big Sky Championship game. Can't say I was all that impressed. I expect San Diego State to dominate on the glass and to be able to take care of business. So main upsets, if you want to call them that, in the first round in this region, I like Missouri to take care of Cincinnati. I also like Tennessee, a 9 seed, to take out Michigan. And I would keep an eye on, if we're looking for a big upset, don't totally rule out the possibility of Oakland taking out Texas. But as we look at the big picture out west, I am going to take Duke, Texas, San Diego State, and UConn to get to the Sweet 16. I've got UConn and Texas playing in the Elite 8, and I believe the UConn Huskies will be cutting down the nets in the West region and heading to Houston, where they will take on Ohio State. Next up, we'll take a look at the East region. Well, we take a look at the East region. The number 1 seed is the Kansas Jayhawks. A lot of people have the Jayhawks winning the whole thing, 32-2 on the season. Obviously, they're not going to have any trouble with Boston University in the first round of the tournament. UNLV and Illinois, Lon Kruger, the running Rebels coach, used to be the head coach of the Illini. I thought Illinois was a massive underachiever all year long. I think the running Rebels a little bit underrated, undervalued, because there was so much attention paid to Jimmer Fredette and BYU and a very good San Diego State team in the Mountain West Conference all year long. I think UNLV wins and wins big. It's one of my bigger locks of the first round of the tournament. Really torn on Vanderbilt and Richmond. Gun to my head, I'll take the Commodores, but not going to surprise me if Richmond wins that game. Both these teams have pretty good three-point shooters. They both play pretty tough man-to-man defense. Probably going to be a pretty close game. I'll take Vanderbilt, but I don't feel that strong about that. Louisville is a very, very good team, but they drew a very difficult matchup. Morehead State has a kid named Kenneth Farid, who will be an NBA power forward, led the nation in rebounding this year, can block a lot of shots as well. They got a decent three-point shooter, a senior guard as well. I think Louisville's going to win. Keep in mind, though, Morehead State, this is huge for them. They are a school that's also in Kentucky, about 45 minutes from Louisville, so this is going to be a big, big game for them. I think it might get dicey early, but I think Louisville finds a way to get through. Georgetown, the Hoyas, struggled down the stretch with Chris Wright, their point guard, having a broken hand. He is supposed to play in the tournament. We'll see at what level he plays in this tournament. Their first matchup is probably going to be against USC. USC could give them a game if Chris Wright is not up to 100%, but I'll call for the Hoyas to squeak by in that one. I love Purdue. Purdue, a team that if they had Robbie Hummel right now probably would be the #1 seed in the tournament, but with Antoine Moore, Juwan Johnson, I think Purdue takes care of business, blows out St. Peter's. Texas A&M and Florida State, neither one of these teams is particularly good offensively, but man, can they play defense. I think Texas A&M wins a close one against Florida State. Notre Dame should have no problem with Akron. Too much firepower for the Fighting Irish. I think they blow out the Akron Zips. Looking at the big picture in this region, as we get to the Sweet 16, I think it'll be pretty much chalk. I have Kansas and Louisville on one side. I have the Purdue Boilermakers and Notre Dame on the other side. I think Purdue plays Louisville in the Elite Eight, and I believe that Rick Pitino's Louisville Cardinals will cut down the nets in that particular region and will be headed to the Final Four. We'll take a look at the final region, the Southeast region, next. Taking a look at the Southeast region, Pittsburgh, a #1 seed again. Seemingly, the Panthers are always a high seed, and for some reason, they find a way to underachieve. But I think this might be their year. They're in by far the weakest bracket of the 4 regions. They should have no trouble taking care of business against the winner of UNC Asheville, Arkansas Little Rock. I think they'll see Old Dominion in the second round. Old Dominion, a very good offensive rebounding team, play pretty good defense as well. They're taking on the defending runner-ups, Butler, the Bulldogs, who got within a whisker of defeating Duke and winning the whole thing last year. Not the same Butler team this year, a little more offensively challenged. Like Old Dominion can take care of business. Kansas State getting a lot of credit for their play lately. I could easily see them going down in this particular round against Utah State. Utah State got a kid named Brock Heath Payne who actually played at U of H for 1 year for transferring out. They've got a pretty good post player in Taj Wilson, and they play a very good methodic tempo. Stu Morrill, their head coach, has been in a lot of these NCAA tournaments. Kansas State can be a little helter-skelter from a shooting perspective. I think Kansas State wins the game, but it is very close. Big upset I'm calling for. I think 13th seeded Belmont wins not 1 but 2 games. Too many three-point shooters. Too much ability to defend and control tempo. Look, Belmont's won 30 games this year. That's not an accident. I think Belmont beats Wisconsin handily. I also think they get to the Sweet 16 beating Kansas State. St. John's, real tough blow, losing their point guard for the season. They'll have to see what they can do against a Gonzaga team. It's not a classic Gonzaga team. I think both of those teams are extremely flawed. I'll call for Gonzaga to win a narrow victory in that one. Love the Jimmas. I'm going to be back in Jimmer and BYU. I hope the Cougars go a long way. They had a chance to win it all before the Brendan Davies honor code fiasco. Wofford gave Wisconsin a game last year. I think the Jimmer will not let these guys lose in the early rounds. So look for BYU to get by Wofford. Tom Izzo's in the bracket somehow, some way. I mean, 19-14 and Michigan State's in the tournament. That tells you how weak the field is for this tournament. But give me Tom Izzo over UCLA. I don't really have a basketball reason why. It's just a gut feeling. Florida Gators, a little bit overrated as a 2 seed. I do think they'll get by the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos and advance to the second round. Once we get to the Sweet 16, I think we will see BYU. I think we will see Michigan State. I think we will see Belmont. I think we'll see Pittsburgh. It'll be Pittsburgh and BYU in the Elite Eight, and I think Pittsburgh will win that particular region. So if you're keeping track at home, my Final Four will be Pittsburgh, Ohio State, Louisville, and UConn. With Ohio State and Louisville playing in the NCAA championship game, and Ohio State cutting down the nets as we get to Houston, Texas, on April the 2nd and April the 4th. Hope to see you out at Reliance Stadium when the Buckeyes are crowned national champions. For now, keep track of all of your tournament coverage right here on Sports Talk 790 and Sports790.com.